I don't think what Forward is doing is just impacting the world of blockchain. It's impacting every single business out there. It is changing the future of all those industries. The entry barrier to blockchain is basically destroyed with Forward Protocol.
It sounds pretty exciting. Why do we need this right now? What does the future look like, and why is Forward Protocol important in that future?
If blockchain is so powerful, it can impact all these industries out there. It should be usable by a common man. And Forward Protocol creates these templates and systems with the power of a developer community, bringing all of these tools in the hand of a business owner. You click a button, it goes live. The time from innovation, from idea to impact should be very, very less. Only when that happens, more innovation comes to life, more creativity comes to life. And that's what Forward enables everyone to benefit in their own way, in the way that works for them and for their business within their limitations of money, time, energy, and brain resource.
This is the classic flywheel of capitalism. If you can drop the cost of a minimum viable product, this changes the entire industry.
But that's a small part. To me, blockchain is not a technology, it's a philosophy. Blockchain represents freedom of choice. It's a shift where people are part of the creation. People are part of a movement. It's part of a revolution. That shift is what I'm really passionate about.
For entrepreneurs out there, do you have any advice?
Do something that works. It's not a matter of failure and success. My first company, Key Difference Media, started off when I was 14 years old. I had to learn to take the risks. The first website I made, it took me 3 months. Everything broke every time I made it. And then after a few months, it took me 15 minutes. 3 months for a website to 15 minutes. And that process, would you call it as failures? Or would you call it as a learning cycle until you succeed? And I believe this mindset should go to everyone out there.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs. Sharing our vulnerability. Overcoming our fears. Transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is...
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Karnika E. Yashwant, aka Mr. Key, the blockchain expert, entrepreneur, and author. You are the co-founder of Forward Protocol, which provides toolkits for the blockchain and has been described as WordPress for Web3. You are also the chairman and managing director of Key Difference Media, a Web3 incubator and marketing partner since 2013. You were named India's youngest CEO in 2010 and started your first company at just 14 years old. Since then, you have led multiple businesses to over $1 billion in revenues. As a speaker, you are renowned for your ability to simplify complex ideas and technical concepts around education, fintech, DeFi, and Web3 adoption. You ultimately believe blockchain technology will revolutionize every aspect of our lives by promoting decentralization, equitable wealth distribution, and the empowerment of individuals. Karnika, welcome to London Real in Dubai.
I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. It's great to have you here. And I want to start by saying that Forward Protocol is one of our portfolio companies here at London Real Ventures, which is the world's first media-powered investment firm, where our mission is to transform the world by investing in cutting-edge Web3 and AI companies while giving our partners marketing exposure across the London Real media platforms and academies. We heighten awareness, create customers, and build communities by leveraging our global audience and extensive network. Karnika, we are super excited to be part of this journey with you. So let's jump in. Talk to me about Forward Protocol. This WordPress for Web3, it sounds pretty exciting. Why do we need this right now? And what is the state of the union of Web3? I mean, we're early 24. Bitcoin ETF has been approved. You know, what does the future look like, and why is Forward Protocol important in that future?
Perfect. That's a very good question. So We are at a point in time where the power of blockchain is being known to everyone out there. But can people use blockchain? That's the biggest question. Blockchain was created for people to take the benefit of, because it provides transparency, decentralization, all those buzzwords. It all sounds great. But what can you do with it? I go around asking people, you're in blockchain for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What do you do with it? I trade. Okay, what else? I pay people. Sure, fine. But what else can you do with it? Nothing else. Why is that the case? If blockchain is so powerful, it can impact all these industries out there, it should be usable by a common man. And there's a huge gap there, not only in terms of understanding or learning about it, but being able to use it in an effective form. So I looked at the landscape of how the internet technologies evolved in the early 20s. It was great, everything was buzzing around, but there was a time when WordPress came to life. Until that point in time, if you wanted to have a website, you would probably spend $5,000-$10,000. You would spend a month or 2 months. It was a big job. It was an crusade. You got to create it. It's a big process. But when WordPress came along, it changed everything. It went to a point in time where people would not write a business plan. They would actually put a WordPress website out there and then visualize how the business looks and sounds. And that changed how internet is perceived. Millions of websites around the world came up. And people could just do it themselves, probably half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. And that changed how fast things can grow, e-commerce websites going on there and all of that. So I looked at that and said, Web3 as a journey is not very different. It's similar to how that changed from paper, traditional industries to the world of people having their own websites and representing their businesses online, doing business online. So how do we replicate or how do we model something that has already worked? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I believe in the best way between point A to point B is the shortest, straightforward one without having to get too creative about it. So when I looked at it and I found that things need to be made simple, not just made simple from a knowledge standpoint, it has to be made simple from a usage standpoint. So I deep dive into the process and we created a system that is very similar, where a community of developers who are trying to right now service their clients by getting paid for their service. They probably get paid a few $1,000s. Here's a product. I work for you by the time and hours. If they can create products and they can put it out there and generate passive income where people could buy their products, not having to sell $5,000 to a customer, but if they can sell it at $100 to hundreds and hundreds of customers on a recurring basis, they make more money. At the same time, they can spend the time to improve what is here rather than delivering something subpar to a lot of people. So now the quality is increased, but the end users can have something in a simple, tangible manner. So what does that look like for an end user? I'm a business owner. I want to have something in the world of blockchain. I come here, I look at all these templates. I can deploy so many different use cases. I choose what I like, and I can customize that, put my logo, put my colors, all of that, like in a front end, like Canva, Wix, and all the things that you're used to, image and editing tools. So you basically drag and drop all of that. Everything looks good for you. Now you customize a contract in a simple form. Yes, I want this. I don't want that. This should be the parameter. You put all of that in a simple form. You choose the chain. There are 800 chains. You don't know what chain, that's fine. You have chosen the template. You customized it to your wish. You click a button, it goes live. If you can do that in 5 minutes, not 1 year, I have a business idea in the blockchain space. You got to raise funds from the VC because it's expensive to hire developers. It's expensive to do everything. And it takes 6 months and a year. By the time you probably lost your vision. You don't want that. The time from innovation, from idea to impact should be very, very less. And if that's 5 minutes, the risk appetite is very, very low. And the number of people who can do that goes up. Only when that happens, more innovation comes to life, more creativity comes to life. People should not bother and be concerned about starting a new venture. If it's a weekend activity on a Saturday, they just spend some time creating a blockchain application out, try it out. It doesn't have to work. That's fine. That's amazing. That's how blockchain adoption can happen. And that's what Forward represents. Ability to fail as many times as you want before you find that idea that works. Try to test things at the least cost. The entry barrier to blockchain is basically destroyed with Forward protocol.
This is the classic flywheel of capitalism. If you can drop the cost of a minimum viable product, I mean, this changes the entire industry. I mean, this is really kind of a lever that can change the whole industry. Because like you said, if you're waiting for a few people to build something, people might make a little money, but actually everybody can make more money if this barrier to entry is just dropped and the frictions go to zero. You actually gave me a flashback here because, back in 2021, when we started getting into this, I am a content producer. I have a WordPress website, and we started getting into this, and I was going to actually create some NFTs from an episode and give them to users. As you know, we have a crypto and DeFi academy, and everyone's like, well, why don't you incorporate NFTs? And I was like, oh, I have to build a separate website that they can connect their hot wallets and And guess what happened? We never did it because it was too hard. And I had a bunch of ideas at the time, and guess what? I can't even remember what they were because I wasn't allowed to MVP it. And so all of that was lost, and I could never test it in the moment when all that was happening. That was 3 years ago. And so how many countless business models and ideas were lost because of these frictions involved here? And especially the beautiful thing about WordPress is that now people are used to being able to create technology on their own, right? Whereas before WordPress, you might argue there wasn't an equivalent instrument. But now that WordPress set the precedent, if you execute on forward protocol, this can really take those people, which are Web 2 users typically, and just en masse onboard them to Web 3. I guess for you, the visionary, I'm stating the obvious here, right? But I mean, this is what I wish I had a few years ago.
To me, it's not about the impact it can make in the blockchain space. Yes, it makes blockchain space easier, simple, and easy to onboard, but that's a small part. What is blockchain? To me, blockchain is not a technology, it's a philosophy. Blockchain represents freedom of choice. It represents a point in the history where collectively as humans, we are able to conduct all this economic, social, and political experiments, millions of them at the same time. We are able to figure what works for us. We don't have to side towards centralization or decentralization, privacy or things protected. We don't have to worry about choosing it. The businesses in the blockchain space are giving that choice for people to side in any way they want. We are not forcing them one specific thing for them. And that is a big shift. It's a shift where people are part of the creation. People are part of a moment. It's part of a revolution. And a company has to change even philosophically how they look at the business world, how they approach the market, and all of that. And if this is making that amount of shift, I don't think what Forward is doing is just impacting the world of blockchain. It's impacting every single business out there. It is changing the future of all those industries. And the only thing that's stopping it is people being able to access blockchain for their own life and for their own businesses.
I had a similar conversation with Sandeep from Polygon a couple of years ago, and he came on my show in 21, I think, and he said what you just said. He said, this is not a technology, it's a shift in human paradigm. It's a shift in this whole classic, this whole narrative we have of ownership and what this all means. And I went deep with many guests on my show, including, I think it was Stanley Kulichev of Aave. When I said, what are your plans for Aave? He said, they're not my plans. It's the community's plans because I don't own this anymore. And that's when I first started to have these like real open concepts in my mind that blockchain is different. It changes the classic business model. It changes even VC as we know it, right? And so you're trying to onboard the world into this brand new paradigm shift by doing this. It's going to change everything.
Yeah, because blockchain is a technology. What's happening here is that this technology has become a bubble. Within this bubble, there are players who are within the space creating solutions for people within the space. That's great. It's important. You're creating new infrastructure. You're trying to create new solutions. But the bigger market is out there. There's a huge multi-trillion-dollar market. All these businesses need something that the blockchain delivers. If that accessibility is brought in, that's huge because that is where business happens. That's where GDP is created. If those individuals and that economy and that value being created can move in or rather adopt blockchain, it shouldn't be two industries. It should be just one. Because I keep thinking about this. Blockchain is a distributed database. We have MySQL and all the different databases in the traditional world. When a business adopts a database or adopts a technology there, they don't think about, I'm entering a new industry. The first And most important thing I see for the blockchain space is to be dissolving itself. It shouldn't be an industry. It is a technology or a philosophy, but not an industry. The moment the walls break, the moment it dissolves into the Web 2, you would come to a point of massive growth. Every person has heard about blockchain right now. If someone has access to internet, they heard about it. What they have not heard about is how or what it does to them. Where is that use case explained in a common man's understanding? They all understand this Bitcoin, it's trading, the price is going up, and ETF is not helping with that. ETF only focuses back on the trading aspect of it. Great, it's the digital gold, you save your money, you make money, that's great. But real money is not just made on the speculative side. Real money is made on value creation. Creating a business, creating an asset, that's where money is made. So why is that focus not given to the audience out there? And that shift is what I'm looking for, and that shift is what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, I can tell. I mean, up until now, you could say the blockchain space, it's been inward looking, right? Preaching to the choir. And I think you said to me before, you said, I ask people what you do in blockchain. No, I trade. You trade the assets. Or I build games for people that understand DeFi and GameFi that aren't fun, but you get to collect tokens. And it's like, what are you doing? And right? And the gamers come back and they say, the game needs to do one thing first. It needs to be fun. And all you guys are wasting time with your little tokens and NFTs. And like, we've heard that criticism, and it's probably correct. And up until now, yeah, okay, you can trade your cryptos, great. But like, where's the real use case? That's probably been the biggest criticism, the biggest fair criticism of blockchain, is that we've been in our own world. And maybe this is how all great, I don't know, movements, cults, maybe they do start inward looking, maybe so. But now it's time to graduate and grow up and be big boys and girls. And to do that, it has to create value, right? And incorporate in the rest of the technology. So you look at it like MySQL. When someone adopts it, it's a technology that makes their business better. Same with blockchain. And you believe that Forward Protocol is going to be that kind of gateway drug, that thing that will onboard all these companies, these Web 2 companies per se.
I mean, I don't believe there should be one person or entity responsible for this, which is why in Forward, we don't want to be the educators. We don't want to be the creators of ideas and templates. We want the community to be the one. So we want the developers to create a product, put it there, and educate the users on how to use the product for their business, create that material, create that use case for themselves, and market it, because it's them, their product, their passion, they understand it. Now, if I were to do it, I can hire hundreds of people, but that's the limit of what I could do. But now if every developer is going out and doing it, that becomes a billion-dollar market. It is sizable and it's scalable to a point where everyone's passion, interest, and their future is aligned with it. And when everything aligns, that is when the growth can happen. It's not just about products and people, it's about their passions and their energy and their mind. It has to keep thinking about it. How do I take my supply chain idea that I have right here? It's a product that I created. I put it on Forward Protocol right now. How do I take this and get it to more people? What do I do? What do I educate? What are the examples? I should become a content creator to put that information out, because I believe the supply chain is an important part of it. I believe this can change the future of food and energy sector. We need them and their ideas and interests to come to life. And I just want Forward to be that enabling platform, that beautiful ground which is ripe, which is ready for fertile crops right now, for people to sow the seeds and reap the rewards out of.
Now, your token generation event is coming up very soon, but you guys have been doing this since 2018. I mean, you really have been behind the scenes building this. You've got a lot of partners. You're on a lot of chains. You actually have a lot of real income coming through. And I wonder if you could talk about that journey, where the product is right now. Is it ready to plug into big businesses and be used? And then the last thing I want to ask you is about the area you've had success in so far. I think it's in real world assets. And does that compare a little bit to like Amazon starting with books? That was their first revenue. Is that like for you, but in the future, it could be anything? So it's a bunch of questions in one, however you want to start on that.
Okay, so when we started out, we were trying to bring a specific product to the world of blockchain. So we worked with some research institutes like Cambridge Blockchain Society and many others. And we were trying to figure the best way to make this work. And then we realized this huge market gap. So when we created Forward, The idea was to make it work for all industries. Something that is industry agnostic, region agnostic, and even product agnostic. Just a pure, raw infrastructure, which is simplified to the core. So we went in the journey to build the product. We built version 1, version 2, and right now we are in version 3. Every single time it was not an upgrade. We put a product out there. We took the feedback. We saw what people were doing and what they're struggling with. How do we simplify it? We used the first principles approach and rebuilt it every single time, to the point where right now people are using it and it generates revenue. And in the last 30 days, it has generated over 65,000 transactions, over 200 dApps deployed. And to get here, it was a cycle of creating, rebuilding, and figuring out the feedback, destroying and rebuilding it once again. And it was a beautiful cycle that we had to go through, because from within the space, you kind of have assumptions. And only when that hits the ground with reality, you get the facts, but you cannot do that ideologically, you cannot do that theoretically, you got to do it practically. And when that moment in time happens, we are able to understand and remodel things in a way it works. So right now at this point in time, our focus on real world asset is more of a B2B focus. It can work for any industry right now. And the product is live. People are using it. There are over 12,500 people the last I checked. And these businesses and individuals are building things for different sectors. But real world asset captures my interest more from a business standpoint. Any business has to have revenues to sustain. That's one of the things in the blockchain space we did not have.
Forgot about.
Yeah, because we were obsessed on just the technology and the token. So sure, you had a token and token made money, you raised funds from investors. But how do you build a sustainable business? Revenues make that work. And where can I capture the most revenue in a way it is not going to disappear? Because forward charges money and monetizes in two ways. It takes a percentage of the revenue that the developers make, or it makes money from the chain transaction fees, a commission out of the chain fees, which means that I need businesses that are not only deploying, but are constantly being used. And we know in the blockchain space, the lifespan of a lot of businesses are very, very small. So if a business comes in, deploys something, and they disappear in 6 months or a year, it's not good. But there's one industry where they come in and they cannot go out. They come in and they stay for long periods of time, and that's real world assets. If they create the real world asset token on Forward and through Forward right now, they cannot change their mind one fine day and say, hey, okay, I have a new business idea, I'm going to move on to that. Well, you have your assets that's tied to the token legally and technically. You cannot take it out unless you buy back all the tokens or you settle your accounts with all the holders. It is a perpetual business. It's going to stay there for 5-10 years and beyond. And if we can have that kind of clients using Forward right now, I would definitely focus on that. It locks me the revenue for a substantial amount of time, way more time than what most blockchain businesses can even foresee their future with. And if that is set, I can look at all the other verticals and all the businesses patiently as a second step, and the community will take that journey. But real world asset requires education to them and requires that careful help in onboarding them, which is what I'm doing more from a B2B side. Whereas the community and the marketing takes care of the B2C, normal customer acquisition in small businesses and traditional businesses side.
Right. So you're thinking about this as an entrepreneur because that's in your DNA since you were 14 years old. And an entrepreneur doesn't think, oh, let me get a token and see if I can get it to go up in value and to get an exit. An entrepreneur always has to look at the bottom line. And on the top of that bottom line is revenues. And so you're thinking, what can sustain me as this thing scales? Real world assets, not as correlated to bulls and bear markets, something they'll stick with you and it can give you the money you need to scale this. I mean, it sounds like a revolutionary idea, and it is in blockchain, but it is just good business right now. Quick question on RWA. It's been talked about for a while. We're going to tokenize real estate. We're going to tokenize this. We're going to tokenize a racehorse, somebody wants to. We're going to tokenize a car. But a lot of people have said it's not happened yet, and it's going to take a long time before it does. Now, we actually happen to be in Dubai, and I had Dr. Marwan Al-Zaruni here, and I think every piece of property is actually on the blockchain here. Not necessarily in RWA, but I guess it is on the blockchain. Tell me, is that a misconception that RWA is not here yet? And what do you say to people that this will be the future?
I was part of real world assets as early as 2017.
17, wow.
I know companies that were tokenizing real estate and different other asset classes. They built everything. The platform technology existed. And they even raised money. One of the companies raised $40 million that I helped them with. But then they had to refund everyone. The legal side, the regulation side was not ready. Right now it is. There is this point where traditional companies are starting to have real-world asset products for their customers, and the regulations around the world have grown to a point where it can work at this point. So right now, it is not a question of the legal side. It's a question of the regulation being in place, and it's a process for them to go through the regulation. So the challenge is presented in a new form, simplicity. So the legal is checked off, technology was checked off like ages ago. So now both are here. How do you make it simple? These guys are not going to install MetaMask. They are not going to go across and figure the tokens and the challenges that come with it, the DeFi aspects. They need a simple app. An app that they open, they see their assets there. I like this. There's a 12% IRR there. I really like this asset. I'm going to buy. They click, oh, I have my credit card. Here it goes. Or you want to shift bank transfer. There it goes. And they're done with it. Sure, crypto is an option, but that's not the only option until the legacy systems exist. Most people over the next many years are still going to be used to the legacy systems and processes. It's not going to go away, especially for people who have lived all their life there. Probably it's going to be a 5 or 10 years journey for them to make that shift. If they can do all of this in an app that they understand, which is not innovative, which replicates the existing apps that they're using in their traditional life. Because what we need right now with the world of blockchain and even real world asset is anti-innovation. We want them to copy the same user experience that people are used to, reduce the learning curve.
Anti-innovation.
Yes, we want them to go back to the same things that they used to. Because if something is similar, it's easy. It's the same thing. I can do this right now. Otherwise, you need to motivate people. You got to get them excited. You want to educate them. That is a process. Education is not easy. So if this is done and that is being done right now, real world asset is here. And I already know businesses that are launching their RWA products in the upcoming weeks and months. Ships being tokenized, helicopters being tokenized, water is being tokenized. Forget real estate. Real estate is the default one we all talk about. But there are new asset classes which are different. And these asset classes bring about an opportunity for everyone in the world to be part of something that they could never be. Real estate, they can do that in their own region. They can go out, find some brokers, get a new house, get a new asset class. It's great. But these asset classes are not, it's really untouchable for most people. They're regulated. There are a lot of red tapes around them. They need to be in a particular country. They need to be accredited. They need to go through a lot of checklists. They're protected asset classes. If everyone in the world can have access to it, it's huge. And that is possible right now.
Helicopters and water. Talk to me about both of those assets, because this is the last I expect you to talk about with RWA.
Okay. So the helicopters are a great asset class because it's used by elite number of people. It doesn't matter what's happening with the recession, the society, the economy. Those who want to fly in helicopters, they have the money to fly in helicopters irrespective of the economy. It's an evergreen business. You could even say it's anti-inflationary. And this business makes huge IRR. Forget about the 2%, 5% that we make with the banks. This has 2-digit IRR per year and sometimes even 3. Because it's in specific markets, it's limited. People pay insane amount of money to charter it. You can really buy a new helicopter every year from the money you make from chartering if you have the right contracts. If this is a business and the business owner can grow this by buying every year and expanding it, if they can have access to new liquidity from the market. People from Nigeria, farmer from there, or an engineer from India, or someone from, an accountant from Korea, if these individuals who are not in the field of accredited investors, if they don't even imagine a helicopter, a couple $1 million to be something that they can invest, be part of, if they can right now buy $10 worth of it and make $10 every year out of it, a huge IRR, they are going to be super happy. the amount of money that can flow in will allow the managers to buy more of this, service to more regions. It's about putting the people's values and their interests together. Someone understands how to make money out of this business. They understand the model, they understand the contracts, they understand the nuances of it. But they're limited by money, and there's a lot of money sitting on the table. The world is full of money. That's one thing that's not in deficit. It's just not accessible. It's not connected in the right way for the value to meet, for it to grow even more. And this is a beautiful opportunity to make that happen.
Right. So it democratizes finance in that aspect. I flew helicopters for a long time, and I took 40 or 50 hours of lessons in London, and it wasn't cheap. I mean, I was paying $400 or $500 an hour for that R-22 craft that actually I think only cost about $120,000 or pounds. So now that I'm doing the math, you're right. But you would only have the opportunity if you owned a helicopter rental company on that airport in the UK. And like you said, most people probably don't even know it's there, don't have access to it, don't understand it. Maybe there's regulatory things as well. So when you tokenize that, all of a sudden you can allow lots of people access, and you can help optimize even that own market. Maybe there should be double the number of helicopters or triple. Maybe it should be cheaper. And that's what you do with the RWA.
Correct. It helps bring that accessibility to the market. Right. And when you talk about something as simple as water, we don't think about it as a commodity, but the world has two big problems, food and water. That is a crisis that is just looming on top of us. We don't realize it as much. And this real world asset with water is very interesting. It is basically tokenizing the water wells, water sources. So PwC comes in and says there's 100 million gallons of water coming from the source. And then they mint 100 million tokens. So a user, if I have 1,000 tokens with me, I am able to access 1,000 liters of water every year for 150 years. That's perpetual access to water. Every year I can claim and have access to that water for free because I bought the token once. It's making sure that water is accessible to the whole world by having water wells across the world and giving the best quality based on the right metrics access to it. And if water can be free that way, imagine places like UAE. If we all can have, because we all buy water every day. Sure, if it's Europe, you can you use a tap water, you're happy. But that's not the case with most part of the world. At least most part where the population is heavy, it is not. Water is a commodity you buy every day. It's not easy. This is a beautiful concept because this comes both from a social and also economic perspective, being able to buy it once and being able to use it for the rest of your life. It's beautiful. People can predict what it's going to cost them. People can use this asset. If they don't want to use the water, they can sell that year's supply of water on the secondary market. They have an ROI. Now they can invest on the water source as an asset to own if they believe there's a water issue that's coming in the future. If not, no problem. Use it for your own consumption. But if you believe water scarcity is up and coming, own these tokens, which will allow you to sell the water in the future when it becomes more pricey.
This is fascinating. So when I started my career, I worked on Wall Street in the 90s, and I worked in derivatives trading. One of the things I had to run was a swap book. It was a way of customizing financing to anything anybody wanted across any maturity. So instead of coming in and saying, oh, you can only buy a 5-year government bond, you might need a specific instrument that it's customized to an asset you have. Maybe you're building a dam and you need 40-year financing. Well, there's only a 30-year government bond. What do we do? My job was to give you the custom fixed floating rate, fixed rate, floating rate, where you want it, et cetera. And by providing that liquidity, the capital markets boosted all sorts of innovation around the world. You're going to do something similar. I mean, this is literally potentially an explosion of that will just raise the bar for everybody when you provide this, because there's so many inefficiencies in the world. That water isn't being priced correctly because of all the lack of information, lack of access. And as soon as you do that, we'll see countless months of innovation and countless probably new business models, even when you do that, with something as simple as water or a helicopter, or let alone something else.
Yeah, just think about this. The ideas that we're discussing right here, these ideas are simple for a common man to understand. And the number of business owners who are able to get this in their mind, the ideas that will come from there are going to be plentiful. And just right today in the morning, I was having a beautiful discussion with a gentleman who is part of private equity space. And they create private loan books, and they are able to issue bonds from there, which is pertaining to a set of businesses. And they are able to give them 15% IRR. And they're using this only for private customers. So it's a private bond available completely in private. What if the general public need not put the money in the bank, but they can have access to the same loans? They're able to lend the money here and gain probably not 15%, maybe you come to a middle point, 10%, 12%. And these businesses get money at a lower cost, and the users are making more money out of their idle cash. Both are making money, and the money currently is being lost in the middle, and nobody gets it. You don't know where it's going. It's just not going to the customer, not to the vendor, somewhere in the middle, to a system, to the middleman. And blockchain removes that. And Forward Protocol creates these templates and systems with the power of a developer community, bringing all of these tools in the hand of a business owner who can just click, customize, and deploy it. And now they can try this out. They don't have to believe blockchain works. That's fine. Maybe it doesn't work for them, but why not give it a try? Especially if it probably costs you nothing or insignificant amount of time and money. It's just the fees that you're going to pay to the developer, the template creator's product. Maybe they charge $50 or $100. Click, pay that, try it out. It is worth a multi-million-dollar opportunity in your own world of business.
What do you think will be the next real-world asset? And then what do you think will be the next product? I mean, you're looking out now 6 months, a year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year. Obviously, you don't know, and you're trying to provide a platform so you can be educated because the market will decide. But what do you see coming down the line?
I can see almost every kind of real-world asset coming on there. I don't think it's what is next. I'm thinking about it in terms of trends. Because we know in the world of marketing and in the world of business, it's a matter of trend, a narrative. The AI narrative comes up, and then you have a million AI businesses popping out of nowhere in a day. And that's the same thing. Real world assets are being taken as a narrative at this point in time. People across the world, across governments, across industries are excited about the possibility of real world assets. And when this happens, it's not going to be one. It's going to be way more than we can count and way more combinations than what we can imagine. And that brings a new opportunity. DeFi with real world assets. Now, forest, for example. I have people who own forest lands. You cannot easily get loans out of it. It's not a liquid asset. But irrespective of what happens, even if there's a world war, the land value of forest lands do not go down substantially. They are way more stable. It doesn't go up much, it doesn't go down much. It's a beautiful asset class, and people tend to have huge liquidity there. Sure, with this, they can take the money out with the power of DeFi. They can take a part of it, put it on there. Okay, here's my tokens that's sitting right now in this particular smart contract. I can borrow money against it. And if I default, they know there's a real world asset that this entity can take. So there's that beautiful market of DeFi that connects the real world, and it's evolving. And RWA is the starting point of that. Every individual in the world can own any asset, and all those assets are still liquid for them with blockchain.
Okay, now fast forward past RWA. What else do you see coming down the line? What else will people use Forward Protocol for?
Business use cases.
Okay.
So when you looked at the traditional Web2 world, businesses did not go to blockchain. Sorry, businesses did not go to the internet era. They didn't move their core business there. An industry, manufacturing business, they did not automate their whole businesses and move their supply chain onto their Web2 online systems. They moved their accounting system on. They moved their document signing probably, or their appointment setting. They moved all the ancillary areas to technology, because moving a core business is a big choice. It's a bold decision to do that. But moving ancillary things, probably an IT guy can choose, or maybe the marketing and sales team can choose. It was an easy choice. So now I'm imagining the whole spectrum of the Web2 or the traditional world from a point, not from who is an early adopter to the late responder, but more from what is the easiest choice to make, what is the lowest barrier of entry, and to go to the more complex one, which requires more choices and more difficulties. So anywhere, any part of the business that they can just move to blockchain right away without having to think too much, that will move on first. And that means developers will start creating like BaaS, like SaaS, software as a service. They'll start creating blockchain as a service products, which are easy, which are serving a lot of people, non-innovative products, replicatable. Every company in the world needs a copy of this. Nobody wants to innovate that. It's just something that you need every single time. And if you can have more of those products on there, Businesses find it easy. Okay, I'm a business. How do I get in blockchain? I can see 3, 4 products here. Great, I'm going to deploy all of these products for my own use case. And an enterprise comes and says, okay, I'm an enterprise. I don't want to be using a public blockchain. I don't want my data sitting on there. That's fine. I'm just going to go to forward protocol. I'm going to deploy my own blockchain. It's just a fork of something. And I don't want it to be decentralized with 1 million nodes. It's just for my own business. Probably I'll just hire 2 nodes from the validator marketplace, validators that are sitting inside Forward who will validate this blockchain for me. I'll pay them monthly fee like hosting on a server. I'll just hire 2 of them. I'm happy with it. It's my own private blockchain. It's just going to sit for me. And I just want these 4 dApps deployed on that chain from Forward. And I can have all of that in the next 30 minutes, an hour. And I'm spending insignificant amount of money on that. That's amazing. My own blockchain with my own 2 validators providing my service, my 4 dApps for my company, for my employees. I don't care about decentralization. There are business owners who don't. Decentralization is something that we are passionate about. I cannot expect everyone to be passionate about the same things that we are, but I need to be sure everybody gets a use that they want out of what we are creating in the world of blockchain. And that's what Forward enables everyone to benefit in their own way, in the way that works for them and for their business within their limitations of money, time, energy, and brain resource.
Let me ask you a question. There's a lot of Web2 businesses now that dominate because of their centralization. Maybe a Google or a Facebook or an Amazon or something like that. Are they going to naturally be resistant to any type of blockchain business because it potentially takes away their edge, their dominance, their lack of transparency, their lack of providing ownership, their opportunity to, censor in many ways, shapes, and forms? Or will they find other uses for the blockchain technology? How do you see, because that's potentially, some friction coming up in the future? You've thought about this, obviously.
It for sure is a friction.
Yeah.
We finally made the government change. We finally made the banks change. I don't think these corporations are hard for us. The industry took its time of more than 10 years, but the governments and banks gave in. So corporations are people who are, they're looking at growing their business, making more money. When they see an opportunity, they would launch something that is complementary to it. They would, because let's say Google and Facebook, it's not just their social business out there. Google has their cloud business. In fact, Google Cloud has also given a grant for Forward Protocol because they want businesses who are deploying their dApps on Forward, their front-end applications to be hosted on Google Cloud. Amazon has given a grant because they do want us to bring those customers to them. They identify this as a new emerging market for them to profit from. So it's not just their core, one of their businesses, but they have other businesses that can profit from this journey. So I would see them adopting. Sure, they'll fight on certain areas because that's how it works. You're used to something, you don't want to change because you're comfortable there, you're making billions of dollars there. It's better for you not to change because something is working until it's not working. So that point for it not to work comes because there is a better blockchain product which challenges the status quo. So you're going to see a point where all these blockchain entrepreneurs and innovators, they create better solutions, which probably the traditional companies will acquire at a later point. Okay, these guys have done something better. I cannot compete with this. And many of them are tried. Examples of Google creating a lot of different products, competing some player, and what worked for them is to acquire. It's the same case with a lot of other businesses as well, because this comes crypto native. It's a crypto native product is outperforming than someone trying from outside the space trying to do this. And this is something that you can easily find. You speak with business owners in the crypto space who hire traditional consultants, traditional bigger consulting agencies, and they fail. And they realize that they don't understand it natively. Because as I said, blockchain is not a technology. It's a philosophy. You need to feel the philosophy. You need to know from the core of who you are, what it represents, what is a vision, what are we building here? It is not a distributed ledger. It is much more.
What more is it? How would you explain it?
To me, the moment I think about it, we are creating a place where people have that freedom of choice. They're creating something which can be of any combination. It's open or closed. And it can be data is visible, data is not visible. You have all those different ways to structure something. And the users and individuals can go ahead and use a product that makes sense for them. And more importantly, a business in the past made all the choice. They created what they wanted to create and they expected the customers to use it. right now, your customers are part of the decision-making process. There's this whole DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. The customers are probably part of it, and they have a right to vote on something that matters to them. And they're part of creation process. You always had to hire your team members. You had to hire your sales team. Now you can empower your community. They are your team. They're not just your customers. They are doing your job for you. Can you bring them on as part of your team? And if they all can contribute to it, it changes how they...
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.